Howdy everybody out there in keyboard land, Bad Mark here with MechTech, and today we're going to take a look at the Feker IK75. And we're actually going to put or install the PC plate that comes with it, which is just a really nice bonus. I'm really liking this board so far, but I really want to get it put together and really play with it. But here is the PC plate, the polycarbonate plate that comes with this board for free. I didn't even see it in the listing. Now, like I said on my unboxing video, I like the details that this board has, down to the plastic protective film on top of the metal of the keycap pullers, as well as the finger grips. I mean, this is a decent keycap puller. I mean, it's one of the cheaper design ones, but I mean, they do work. I'm not going to sit here and bother to take all that off. But so we're going to open up this board and just take a quick look. See if we need to. Yeah, it looks like we will need to do some tape mod for the stabs, and we'll go ahead and also do the Plumbers Mod to go ahead and get that working as best as possible. So let's get into it. I'll pull off the knob. Should come off pretty easy. Yeah, there we go. It does have a plastic interior, but it's your standard D knob, so any guitar knob, potentiator, meter knob will work in there. I'm going to go ahead and I'll set you right there for right now. Now let's see. Is this board pressure fit? I do believe that it is. As, let me see. No, we don't have any screws right here. Although we do have clips. Oh, okay. I think probably should have watched a video prior to, but let's see, here's my spudger. If I'm not mistaken, this is going to be similar to the K75, where we have to pop these clips off. Shake it all up there. So that plastic does separate. So looks like we should be able to take it apart by popping these clips here. Obviously you want to do it carefully as to not break any. Just want to make sure we get a little space in between them. You want to be careful with these, even though I think they're easy, and they usually are. I mean, you don't want to apply too much pressure, because even one of the clips being broken or defective or damaged will cause some issues, especially if you're modding the case. Well, we're getting there. Slowly but surely. And don't you call me Shirley. Don't want to be locking her back in place. That was that click there. There is such a thing as being too careful though. There we go. That's the front. I want to make sure the front doesn't lock back into place while we start to loosen up the back. doing this, to be quite honest. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh, I got this plate off. When I first got this, I was not necessarily thrilled about the color, the frosted white. But now that I have it in hand, I actually like it. Although a member did ask if I thought this could be spray painted, and absolutely, if you do the proper prep work, I'm sure that, I mean, especially just this frame, as you can see, there's the lights right here. They're plastic. It's a plastic insert. I'm not going to pop it out, but this will come out, so you could, oh, there's the gaskets while we're there. Let's see. We've got sets of gaskets, 4 on the top. We've got, let me see, 1 on either side. Oh, 2 on this side, 1 on this side, and 2 on that side. And then we have 3 along the bottom. So that 4th one, that would be on the bottom since the arrow keys has been split up. But anyway, I think that with some proper prep, excuse me, putting some tape, especially on the insides right here, to make sure that the clips aren't affected by the paint, and taking out those those inserts, as well as putting tape over if you don't want, you know, that to be covered up. But it's, I would say, just a rough sand, I mean a light sanding to give it a little bit of a rough surface should be more than sufficient, especially if you're just going to focus on the top. I'm sure that it would take color. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I actually kind of like it. I thought I was going to do it, but I received it, and both my wife and I were like, oh, that's actually not that bad. Alright, so now we come to the PCB on the plate, and we have, oh, well, that's interesting. So we do have a pour-on film down here. Now, I have heard of people removing the pour-on and putting tape. I don't know. I like the pour-on on here. And I like this film that they've put in here too. Well, foam, I should say. And it looks like, yeah, there is a foam between the PCB and the plate as well. So I just find this kind of odd. I would have figured that would have gone into one board, but, or one port, but 2 separate batteries. Huh. I wonder how it shares amongst the 2. But we're not going to be doing much here but changing out this plate. So first we need to find the screws, which I think there's 4 of them right here. And what did I do with my handy dandy screwdriver? I guess I'll go ahead and disconnect this. In the meanwhile, just in case, there are just some JST cables I can put back in. Really? Huh. I don't want to interfere on that. Alright, so we're going to set that aside for the moment. Now, there's obviously some space in there. I wonder if we just for fun, we'll put something in there. For right now, let's just take this apart. So we've got the 4 screws here. I think that would be it. Because screws. Anything still holding this in place? Does feel, oh, there is one more screw. There's 6. Yep. I did this one. That makes sense. All right. So we'll hide this because we're going to need it here in a second. So let's go ahead and flip it over. Alright, and there's the PCB. It's a decent enough PCB. I would call it mid-grade. It's rough on some edges. That squared off is cheaper when it's squared. Corners like that. And I did see some spots on here where there's still some flux left over. It's not messy, mind you, but it could definitely be better. So, alright. And here we've got this. Now this seems to have its own studs. That's why studs that come in here. But I've heard of just placing this without the studs. So we're going to give that a try. We're going to give that a try. So let's go ahead and take the stock stabs. We're going to stick with stock stabs right now. If you find them to be awful, I will replace them. But I like to work with what comes with the board, unless it's, you know, completely obvious it's pointless, because, you know, not every time do people actually have access to Amazon or other online stores where there's accessories, and they have to do the best with what they have. So I like to at least give or make any of those options, you know, available and explore them, you know. And if they turn out not to work, well, at least you know ahead of time, and hopefully I could have saved you some, I was able to save you some time or headache due to, you know, whatever reason. Alright, so these are all looking to be downward bar spacing. Alright, and this is, yeah, feels like steel. Could be aluminum, but it's feels heavier than aluminum, that's for sure. But again, I'm no metallurgist, so, and it has its studs already in there. So let's set this aside. Let's check out these stabilizers. Now, these stabilizers come with the most minimal of grease. But let's see, the feet. The feet are pre-clipped, so that is a good thing. And I mean, these are cheap stabilizers. They're not the cheapest, but they're just about there. At least they're clipped. So I'm going to go ahead and do the Holy Mod to these. I'm going to check real quick. Let's see how. Huh. Actually, that's a well-balanced bar. Usually, if they're too cheap, this bar is going to be crooked. And there's literally not even enough lube that I can see to clean off. It's that light. So what I'm going to do with these, let's go ahead and put these like this. They don't need to be clipped. We'll just leave them in here. Go ahead and take all the bars out. And what I'm going to do is called the Plumbers Mod, and it's called that. I don't know who came up with it. I'm just repeating what I found on the internet. But I'm guessing it's called that because it uses plumber's tape. Plumber's tape can be had at any local hardware store, and even many of your box stores as well. It's basically PTFE in solid form, a very thin form. PTFE is the same stuff that we use to lube switches with. So, let me see, a pair of scissors. There we go. I've got a notification. So what this basically does, it creates a kind of like a, I want to say a sleeve for the stabilizer bar, which gives it more stability. So instead of that rattling around, that which causes that ticking, that clicking, that rattling type of noise, because the bar is, although it's connected to the stem inside of the housing, it's still going to be a little loose in there. So this actually creates for a higher or a tighter tolerance, meaning that you're going to have much better contact, hence getting rid of any of the looseness per se. And because it's PTFE and we're going to be applying lubricant, as long as you don't put too much, like this one might have a little too much on it, but I think we're fine. I've been able to do about 4 or 5 wraps. Anything more than that really can start causing issues, but we'll know right away. It's not a big issue. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other leg. And like I said, we're just, I need to make sure to stay in frame here. Sorry, I'm sitting a little further away than I should. So, alright. It's that first wrap that can be a bit of a pain. But then, once you get it going, like I said, about 4 wraps. Usually a good number. I want to trim it. We want to make sure also that we trim any excess coming off of the bottom. We don't want to go past the elbow, and we don't want any excess coming off the bottom, because that will cause binding and cause issues with the inside of the stabilizer housing. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do all the bars at once. Usually a little easier that way, and then we'll see if we have to come back and fix any of them. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. One more. I'm hoping that audio is going to be much better with this new microphone, and I mean, I reinstalled all of my audio drivers just to make sure that they seemed okay, but you know, software, you never know. Alright, and one more leg. Alright, so now that we've got all of these nice, and now we need to see about this, because well, I'm going to go ahead and do the tape on anyway right here since I've got them out. And this is to make sure that they clip on as tightly as possible to the plate. I do have to heard of it just sitting on top. don't see why that's going. Why that wouldn't? What would be a problem? I don't think it would be. I think as long as we put some switches on there, we'll be okay. All right. So yeah, let's go ahead and tape mount the plate. All right. So looks like we've got all the spots covered. So now let's go ahead and just keep it back on there for right now. Let's go ahead and loop up. I'll grab another tape before we forget about it. Alright. So lube up these stabs and make sure that lube. Make sure that we're coming in the right way on the stabilizer, going in the back, making sure we're all the way through, and then we clip it. Let's go ahead and do the other side. Making sure to have enough, but not too much. Just enough. A little goes a long way. The same thing. Oh, we want to make sure that it's lined up and that it's going through both parts of the bar, and then we click it in place and make sure that, alright, looks like we have smooth movement, and I believe these were going in upside down, so we'll go ahead and try one just to make sure. So those are on the plate now, and they are, I mean, if you move them, you're moving the plate. So, gotta make sure. There we go. Nice and free. See how they're not rattling? I mean, they move laterally, but they're not rattling. So it's a nice and smooth texture, so I think we'll be good for the rest of these. Let's go ahead and put them together, get this show on the road. We're lined up going in, and then same side. Oh, there we go. Alright, make sure these are where we need them. I'll do this one. A little too much. Alright, make sure we're lined up. Going in, click. Next side. Lining it up, going in, click. Alright. Now, the last one, but the most important one. Still too much. to make sure it goes through both. This one is a little snug, but still moving smoothly. Let's do it the right way. Oh, this way. All right. Yep. Seems to move correctly. So let's go ahead and cap this off. That's all we should need for now. Let's go ahead and see about putting this puppy together. So, I guess we could put the stabilizers on without the PCB. Sometimes you have to guide these. Oh, that one's did not go in. So you have to guide it in to make sure the bar is below, but you still have the part of the plastic that sits above the plate. You don't want it to sink below. Yeah, you will see a random cat hair because we do have cats. They are the masters around here. You don't get a cat as a pet. A cat decides if they're going to have you as their human. That's what I believe. Now sometimes you'll notice these clips won't go in all the way. They don't clip back all the way. Sometimes they just need a little help because it's that tight. But it's important to do that because if not, they could pop back out. Oh, come on. Okay. There we go. Make sure all the clips are all the way back. Alright. So, yeah, these stabilizers are now on this plate quite well. So we're going to go ahead and try to do this without the studs for this. We're just going to stick it in and see if we can get the ultimate of the gasket mount. Let's see what happens. First, let's hook up this battery. Oh, and I'm going to want to put some, let me go ahead and do that first. I'm going to be using, since this is a Feker IK75, I'm going to be using Feker Holy Pandas stock. So let's go ahead and stick some in the corners. These are 3-pin. Alright, so for right now, I'm just going to use some 5-pin ones because they'll be a little bit more stable. We can switch them out. So I'm just going to use some NK dry yellows right here just because they've got the 5 pins. And I'm using this as basically a support. Alright, got one in. I'm doing this to keep everything aligned to make sure nothing goes sideways, since I'm not using the studs, because I want to see if we can get the flex that I've read people talk about, or have heard people talk about, with not using the studs and using the PC plate. I honestly prefer FR4 and PC plates over brass and aluminum, but that's just my preference. I know some people do prefer brass. I mean, I don't discount brass. Does have a very distinct sound profile, but when it comes to keyboards, I guess that's just what I like. We all have our preferences. A lot of this hobby is left to really what a particular individual likes, and seeing people argue over, well, that's not the right way to do it. Like, if it's not damaging anything, and that's their prerogative and their money, you're the one that really has no place talking about it. All right, since this seems to be keeping it in place, I think this is going to work. And since we're going, because there's the spots for the gasket mounts that are going to be hitting the gasket mounts on the side and the top. So let's see how much flex we get without having these posts in. Let's go ahead and hook the batteries back up. Make sure I got this going the right way. That's right. Just the foam is a little, it's almost impeding, especially on the side. Alright. Make sure those are all the way in so we have battery functionality. Now I know this has a side LED, so I'm just going to stick with what it's got on it for right now. I'm sure I'll modify it more come time, but I kind of just want to get to it. So alright, so we're just going to flip this back into place. We're going to make sure that, what's happening here? Don't want to pinch that battery cable. I'm going to make sure we're careful when we go down so we don't pinch that cable in the back. But we see that it's extra piece of tape just went loose over there. Alright, so we are on top of the gaskets, and there seems to be a bit of a hump there in the middle. But oh, there we go. Okay. It was, the middle stud was kind of stopping it. Alright. So now we can see that it's sitting on the gaskets, and we can see the flex that it has. So yeah, I mean, compared to this plate, which, like I said, it feels like steel, because aluminum should be a little bit lighter and a little bit more malleable, but this is like, it feels like steel. But please correct me if I'm wrong. Alright, so let's go ahead and snap this back into place. Go around the entire perimeter, make sure that all the clips are in. And definitely we have room for some foam or some sort of modification that I'll try doing here in the future, but just for right now, there we go. Not bad. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to go ahead and put some Feker Holy Pandas in there. I wonder what an XDA profile is going to sound like on here. I know this doesn't necessarily match the theme, but this is a Banyan clone. I think we'll give it a shot. I don't know. My wife suggested it. But yeah, this is a PBT, not double shot. So. But let's see what we got out of this. Here. Insert those here. And the end goes here. Page up and page down. Okay. Shift. Alright, so there's the board. This is the IK75 V3. We've installed the polycarb plate, and I'm going to go ahead and save the studs in case we ever decide to come back and put them in, though I doubt that will be the case. Go ahead and put this keycap set away. We'll be right back. This sounds